remember, how much does the memory of 2 years ago linger with you guys on defense?
Not much. I mean, there's only a handful of guys that were here and, took part in that game. Surely it's something that I go back to time to time. Obviously it wasn't good. So, I mean, it's just something you just try to take some things from, learn from, and get better because of it.
What did you learn from it? And can you ever recall walking off the field after a win, probably feeling the way you did?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a crazy game. Being that high scoring, I can't remember ever being a part of a game like that. But it is what it is. Can't really do anything about it now. So we're not really focused on that. We're focused on this year's Maryland team. That promotes its own unique set of challenges.
All right. Thanks, Tuf.
And we'll go next to Tim May from Letterman Row. Tim.
And those challenges are, complete the sentence.
Yeah. Obviously playmakers all over the place. They're a team that's dangerous right now because they're playing with a lot of confidence. Obviously their quarterback, you guys all know is a great player. Can extend plays with his feet. Got a really quick release, gets the ball out of his hands fast. And then they have playmakers all over, receivers, running backs. They can all take it the distance at any time. So,
yeah.
We'll have
the freshman, especially Rakeem Jarrett, what just jumps out to you about him just from video? Maybe, I don't know if you watch isolated video from game to game, but, just what he did against Penn State last week. What do y'all have to be on your P's and Q's about with that fellow in particular?
Yeah. Great player. They try to utilize him in multiple ways. They try to get him the ball on the perimeter. We've seen him line up in the backfield a few times early on in the year. So just a guy that can hurt you in multiple ways. So we'll be preparing accordingly.
Thanks, Tuf.
All right, next up, Austin Ward, Letterman Row. Austin.
Tuf, you seemed a little unsure what to make of that effort on Saturday night, at least when it was over, and talked about wanting to see the film. Was it as bad as you thought? Was it better than you thought? What did you make of it when you looked at it this week?
No, I mean, the thing about watching films, it's never as good. It's never as bad as you think it is. Definitely there was some things to clean up there. We played a good first half. We just got to, carry that with us in the second half, put a complete game together. I think throughout this time, we've been so good about focusing on small details like, pursuit to the ball, our tackling. That's just something that we got to kind of hone in on and get back focused on. Because, like I said, we didn't put a whole game together, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thanks, Tuf.
Okay, we'll go next to Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch. Joey.
Tuf, Maryland's passing game in particular seemed to really have made strides from like week 1 to week 2 and 3 because they obviously didn't put up a ton of points in their opener. But what have you seen from them maybe like over the course of the season that why they've improved as much as they seem to have?
I think they're a team that's picked up steam as they've gone. They're playing with extreme confidence right now, and a lot of energy, and they're having. You can tell that they're having fun playing. But it's really, again, the quarterback gets the ball out of his hands extremely quick. He's got a quick release, and they have playmakers on the outside. That can hurt you. So they've grown. They've gotten better as the season has gone on, and we got to come ready to play.
Is he a quarterback who's similar to anybody you've faced over the years, or just his style of play? with Kirklees?
Off the top of my head, I don't know if there's anyone in particular. He's unique in his own way, and he's a great player. He does a great job of when he feels pressure, extending the play, with his feet, getting out of the pocket and making throws on the run. So credit to him.
All right, next up, Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Scoop. Tony.
When you're watching film, I don't know how much bad film and good film you watch. What was the Maryland offense not doing in the first game that they've been doing ever since? You know?
I don't know. I think they're just kind of in that first game. It's hard to say because you're still kind of finding your identity and what you do well, and I think they found that as the season got on, and it's given them more confidence, and they're playing really well.
Does that film maybe not even really – you're not even focused on that because that's not maybe who they are now and it's more what they've done the last two games?
No, I mean, I think you got to pay attention and take the whole season for what it is. There's some tendencies there, even in the first game, regardless of how well they played or how many points they put up or what yardage they had. So those are the things you look at when you watch those games.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go next to Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com. Nathan.
Hey, Tuf. But going back to the first answer you gave, you said that you still go back to that 2018 Maryland game from time to time. Why? And in what way do you go back to it? Why do you go back to it?
Because in a way, when something like that happens, it kind of scars you and makes you tougher from it. There were things in that game that happened. Not really things to focus on now because what we're doing is different. But you just take from the situation of the game and it just makes you a better all-around football player.
I was curious, you on that team, you guys experienced a season where people thought maybe the defense was holding that team back from as good as it could be a little bit. And then last season, obviously, a lot of you were part of the same defense that helped push that team almost, to a national championship level. So going back to 2018, does it help you in a season like this where things are maybe a little bit more transitional, new guys? Has it helped you recognize any potential problems and not just right now, but I guess over the last couple of months, help you guys get things corrected before they might have been a problem?
I think certainly. I think that's the case whether you play a great game or a bad game. Really is you take from your experiences and you learn from them as they come. So we're not focused on 2018. As a defense, as a player, I'm not focused on 2018 because it's in the past. You can't really do anything about it. So we're just focused on here and now.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, we'll go to Patrick Murphy next with 247 Sports. Patrick.
Tuf, you have a front row seat for the defensive line, and we talked to Jonathan Cooper yesterday. He felt like the team played pretty well, or the defensive line played pretty well despite just one sack. When you're watching the defensive line from your linebacker perspective, what can they do well when maybe they don't necessarily record the statistics that we would look at and say, oh, that's a good performance? What did you see on Saturday that was indicative of good defensive line play?
No, good defensive line play is just all comes down to being disruptive, and that's what those guys are, regardless of what the sacks say or what the individual statistics say. Is those guys come ready to go every week, and they really did play well. So that was really good to see.
Okay, next up, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. Brendan.
Hey, Tuf, one of the things that Coach Day's talked an awful lot with us here the last month is about how difficult it can be to play against a team that is really efficient with a tempo offense, either when you're on the offensive side of the ball trying to run that or on the defensive side trying to cover it. And it felt like Rutgers boy, they had some snaps in the first half where, I mean, they got tackled and they were running plays quickly. Are you happy with both the way you guys responded to tempo and also with just in general the speed at which you guys are playing defensively?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was in that game particular, it was a kind of a tale of two halves. You saw the first half, but we handled the tempo well. We were able to make our communication get lined up, and that's a lot of the battle against these tempo style of offenses, is because they go so fast. What they do isn't overly complicated, but they kind of try and get you, I don't know, your cleats aren't in the ground, you aren't ready to go with the tempo, and that's kind of what they rely on. So when you handle it, things go really well. Obviously, you saw in the second half what happens when you don't. Your eyes aren't right. You're not ready to go. So again, it's just something you learn from.
And is there something to, what I guess this is twofold. One of it's like the fatigue factor. Is it as fatiguing as sometimes we make it sound like, oh, gee, they got to be ready within 10 seconds, hard to catch your breath. Or perhaps the second part of that question is, when you're in that setting, are you focused on running the exact same defense you ran the previous play? Like, how do you guys work that quickly to make sure you're in lockstep?
No, I mean, I think obviously defenses vary, but you kind of got to get on the ball basically as you're looking to the sideline to get the call. So that's something we've emphasized. And as far as the fatigue factor, it's something we train for all year round. So where, in practice we have tempo periods, where that's the emphasis, it's complete chaos. So in that moment you can kind of just fall back on the work you've put in before, and it's not something completely foreign to you in that moment.
All right, and last question to Spencer Holbrook from Letterman Row. Spencer.
Tough. How annoying is it to see back to back seem like 5 straight trick plays at certain times in that game Saturday?
I don't know. It's part of the game. You just kind of gotta handle it. I don't know. I think a lot of negating the trick plays comes down to your visual key and then effort to the ball. So trick plays are part of it. It's just something you gotta roll with.
And then I asked Coop yesterday about defensive discipline. You guys have given up a touchdown and a drive in back-to-back games where you should have been off the field, but gave up a penalty. As a captain, how do you address that with guys? And what's the message going into the next couple of weeks where you might not be able to afford to have a penalty like that as easy as you did in the last 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we need to get corrected. To get a stop on third down and have a penalty, it's something that kind of takes the wind out of you in a way. But those guys, we have extremely smart football players, great coaches, and they just really emphasize to our players that it just can't happen in that time. It's not acceptable. So I have confidence that we can correct it.
All right, Tough.